Oh, Brian.
Hey.
Hello there.
Hello. Nice to see you again.
Welcome back in, randos, to Fandom at Random. I am Ed. That is Brian, and welcome into another fantastic podcast. We've got a random review today.
Yeah, mini one.
A mini. It's a part one and a part part two of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, which has been, I mean, out of all the Star Wars series, this has been the most hyped.
General Kenobi.
General Kenobi.
Yeah, it's definitely been hyped, especially since they're bringing back Ewan McGregor.
He's back.
And, well, we'll get into it. I don't know if that helped it or not.
But I'm excited to talk about that. We're going to kind of delve into the episodes a little bit. We're not going to go too crazy. So if you have not seen Obi-Wan Kenobi episodes 1 and 2, I highly recommend you go check it out on Disney Plus before you follow through with this breakdown and review. Mm-hmm. But before we get into that, Brian, anything else? What's going on? What's new with you?
It's been a busy weekend. First of all, I saw Top Gun Maverick in the theater. Yeah, Danger Zone, all of it. It was fucking amazing. Yeah, if you like
the Danger Zone,
if you like Tom Cruise, if you like airplanes, if you like the original Top Gun, you will love this fucking movie. I have to see it one more time in order to properly say this, but I think it's better than the original. It was perfect that they waited this long because the effects, the filmography, the tricks they used, they didn't even use tricks. Like, they were really flying in those planes. So
yeah, I read it was a little over $16,000 an hour.
Yeah, dude.
Per plane that they rented out. So they spared no expense.
No, they didn't. And they took a lot of time to do it, and you can tell. And do not wait for it to come out on streaming. See it in... This is... If there was a movie I had to say this year you had to see in theaters, it would be Top Gun Maverick.
You sold me because I love the original. I'll go check it out in theaters. Random review next week, maybe.
Yes, sir.
Top Gun.
I can't recommend it enough.
All right, cool. Brian's stamp of approval.
Yep.
But enough about fighter jets. Let's get into X-Wings and TIE fighters and in the future. Well, a not so distant future. Not so far away. Let's get into Obi-Wan Kenobi. So this is it's going to be a mini series. So it's not going to be, at least tentatively right now, it's not going to be something that has like a season 2, but money talks. So if this does really well and Ewan McGregor wants to pursue it and push it more, who the hell knows?
Yeah.
But this has been in the works for a while. Initially, it was supposed to come back out in, I think it was like 2020 or so.
That's right. Yeah.
And then the production schedule, it all got pushed back, and it was put on indefinite hold in January of 2020 because Lucasfilm was actually unhappy with the script. And so much so that they actually brought in Joby Harold to rewrite essentially the entire series.
Yeah.
And he actually became an official showrunner in April of 2020. And you still had the usual people involved, Kathleen Kennedy, whatever. But, they made some good changes. They brought in, Hayden Christensen, which we've kind of, spoiler it again, we've seen him a little bit.
Was that him?
That was him.
Yeah.
That was him in makeup. We've seen him a little bit, and they wanted to capture the essence of Star Wars and the prequels. Which, I mean, the prequels themselves, I mean, they're a little bit kind of like a fine wine. Mm-hmm. Because when they came out, so obviously Brian and I were in our mid to late 30s. We weren't even really born when the OG Star Wars trilogy was at its height.
Right.
The prequels are more our generation.
Yeah, and the hype was real.
And, we were, back in the 90s, like, I remember going to the theater, seeing episode 1, and I'm like, pod racing's the coolest.
Yeah.
And now in retrospect, a lot of the older generation was like, this sucks. This is hashtag not my Star Wars, even though that was like pre-internet days before hashtags existed.
# not my Star Wars. Yeah. It was great, and the pod racing and the sound design was amazing, but a lot of the hardcore fans were like, this sucks, especially The first one, right, was the most hated,
No,
I think,
Attack
or was
of
it
the
the second?
Clones.
Yeah,
The second one is
I know the
horrific.
third, Revenge of the Sith, is the
Good.
favorite of the three. And
Yeah, it's actually pretty good.
I think we would both agree that, yeah, it's pretty good. So I think they capture more of the feel from the prequels than they did the original Star Wars, at least judging off these 2 episodes.
Yeah, I think so. And I was excited I actually, leading up to this series, I rewatched the prequels, and there were a lot of things wrong with them.
It's
Don't
dated.
get me wrong.
And it's dated.
It is. I mean, the CGI, a lot of it is dated. Jar Jar Binks was a mistake.
Jar Jar Binks loves apples.
Wow, that's a really good impression.
I remember I could always do the Jar Jar voice. Admission here. So me and Taylor actually had a conversation, right? And more like a fight, an argument.
Oh, no.
Out of nowhere, she goes, "You don't even like Star Wars." I go, "How dare you?"
How dare you?
Upon further reflection, I started noticing the past projects that have been coming out after Disney acquired it. She might be right. I'm not as into it as I was the prequels and the original Star Wars. After everything's been Disneyfied, my interest has been waning and waning and waning. Even this show, I was kind of like, well, I'll watch it, but we're just getting too much Star Wars. Too much, I think. And I don't think I would have ever said that, but I think we are.
Yeah, The Mandalorian helped.
The Mandalorian, it was amazing, and I still will stick by that. But yeah, a lot of the other projects,
We'll kind of talk about the other projects at the end of this review really quick and compare it to these first 2 episodes the best we can. But let's talk about the episodes and how they launched this. So, and we'll give a quick, like, maybe 5-minute breakdown of each episode and some of the highlights of it. But episode 1, again, we're back on Tatooine, another desert, and I'm like, what the
right?
Every single Star Wars property, I mean, there's this huge galaxy. I understand it's Obi-Wan. We know he's on Tatooine. He's looking over a very young Luke Skywalker. But does it always have to be a desert?
Right.
Why?
Throw some water in that bitch.
You know, we just had the Book of Boba Fett. We had Mando, which a lot of it, again, keeps going back to desert.
At least we got it switched up a little bit in the Mando with, like, the ice caves and shit. But, right, it always comes, like, it's a whole galaxy. There's a lot of options there, people.
But luckily, we'll get into episode 2 here in a minute. They at least, thank God, they moved the locale a little bit.
Yes.
But I mean, this whole episode really revolves around Obi-Wan he's defeated.
Right.
Like, he is just depressed, defeated. He's a broken man.
He is not Obi-Wan. He is Ben.
Yeah, he's Ben. I mean, yeah, for him, Obi-Wan is dead. And it was like, this is a testament to Ewan McGregor. I mean, he's a great actor. And he was one of the few, like, bright spots in the original prequels.
Yep.
And a lot of people agree with that.
Yeah.
And his just rendition of Obi-Wan, he puts everything into it. And it was so just... he was just like a beaten dog.
Right. Yeah. You can tell, you know, he isn't even hiding. I guess you could still say he's hiding, but he's effectively entered citizenship. Like, he is just a citizen, doesn't even think, I'm sure, at least on the outside, doesn't think about Jedis, doesn't want to be a Jedi, doesn't want anything to do with Jedis, nothing. He just wants to watch over the dumb kids and mind his own business. Yeah,
and we see at the very beginning of this episode, it actually highlights, I believe it's one of the Jedi or the Jedi Temple in the capital after Order 66 goes live.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And you see a bunch of those young Jedi, or the very young Padawans, escaping. Yep. And that ties into this episode again, where there's a Jedi on the run from the Sith Inquisitors. And he's... I'm sorry, I should say Grand Inquisitors. They're technically not Sith.
By the way, side note here. Am I the only one getting that they might have touched on Sanderson's Steel Inquisitors with the tattoos and the name and everything? Like...
no, because
I don't know the lore in the books and shit. They could have come before Sanderson.
They did.
I was gonna say,
the Inquisitors, the expanded lore in Star Wars predates Mistborn.
Gotcha. I knew there was a possibility of that, but I wanted to bring it up because I did notice little bit of similarities.
But we get to see the Grand Inquisitor, the fifth brother, and then the third sister, who is called Reva Savander.
Yeah.
Played by, oh my God, her name escapes me, but she's a great actress.
Yeah.
But it's very apparent in these first 2 episodes, they are setting up Reva, the third sister, to be the quasi big bad. I mean, I'm guessing Vader will eventually be the big bad, but she's going to be the main antagonist. How did you feel about her?
Not good.
Yeah,
I
didn't either.
I do not feel any charisma, energy, like villainous at all coming out of her. She seems like just a stupid hothead, one-dimensional character that is going nowhere as far as villains go. And the second episode, we'll get into it, didn't do anything to help that at all, in my opinion. So, yeah, to me, no.
But that is pretty much, a lot of this episode is you have the Inquisitors coming to Tatooine, and Reva is obsessed with finding Kenobi.
Right, yeah. One mission, that's it. She doesn't care about any other Jedi. She wants Kenobi.
But they find there is another Jedi there.
Yes.
Which is one of the young Padawans that couldn't help himself. He had to...
Stop barbells.
Apparently.
Right?
But they eventually end up catching him and killing him. You get that scene, too, depressing, where he ends up finding Kenobi at night.
Yeah.
Out in the desert, and he's like, Master Kenobi, thank goodness I found you. We need you.
You are thinking of somebody else. I thought he was trying to force him into thinking. I'm like, what's going on here?
But and then he ultimately ends up getting killed.
Yeah.
And we even kind of glossed over the whole really tense scene with oh my God, what's his face, Uncle Owen.
Oh, right,
Owen, Luke's uncle, and that whole scene where Reva is interrogating him, getting ready to kill him. She's saying, I'm going to kill your whole family. And he's stone cold.
He was a badass. He's like, all right, do what you got to do then.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, he did not rat out Kenobi, who was 10 feet behind him.
Yeah. He ain't no rat.
Yeah. So it was a badass scene. It was tense, like you said. Yeah.
But, seeing Ben, and I do want to call him Ben because effectively Obi-Wan is not here at this point. He is Ben Kenobi at this point.
Yeah.
And he's just terrified. And the old Obi-Wan would not stand there and sit and watch these people get hurt, killed, and tortured.
No.
He would try to help and do something.
Yeah. You said, he's defeated.
Sith Lords are his specialty.
Yes.
So just to see that, and it was depressing.
It was a good scene, and Ewan McGregor pulls it off so well. Obviously, the highlights of this show are going to be with Ewan McGregor because the rest of the cast, it seems, isn't going to.
So let's get into that. So then flash forward. The other half of this episode takes place on Alderaan.
Yes.
And, you got Leia there in Alderaan places.
Little Leia. Yeah.
So you have 10-year-old Leia, which I'm sorry.
She looks 6 and
she looks
6.
like 5 or 6-year-old Leia.
Especially in those amazing chase scenes.
Oh,
we'll get to it.
I have a note we're going to talk about in one sec. But
yes.
That was a big thing to me, off the bat. I'm excited. We get to see a young Leia.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. She's supposed to be a 10-year-old girl.
I'm kind of torn, though.
I don't know, man. My son is 6.
Yeah.
And he towers over...
to be fair, your son was basically the Hulk when he was born.
Yeah, that's true.
All arms and legs. But no, to be real, I'm torn because she's adorable as all get out. But yeah, she's there. She's not 10.
She is sassy. She's well-spoken.
Yes, but she can't be 10. I haven't checked how old the real actress is, but she can't be.
Yeah, but it was just really goofy, and especially you mentioned, so the thing that kicks off the plot here is she gets kidnapped.
Yes.
And she ends up going into the woods, and dude, did you catch who the lead bounty hunter, the guy was leading that group?
Dude, it's slipping my mind.
It's Flea.
Yeah. Oh,
from
yeah.
The Red Hot
Flea
Chili
from
Peppers.
the Red Hot Chili. Me and Taylor were watching. I was like, Flea. She's like, what? Like, Flea.
Freaking Flea, man. I'm like, it was so abrupt. I was like, what is happening?
I'm like, wait.
Why is Flea trying to abduct Leia?
You stick it I'll pick it. Or what does he say from Son-in-Law? I don't know.
No idea.
Anyway, yeah, so the chase scene ensues with Flea leading it. And this girl's legs are no longer than this like mic stand.
And that's what bugged me.
And she's waddling like this, but none of the adults can catch up to her.
And that's what I mean. Like,
yeah.
Even just mechanically, she runs like a toddler.
Yes.
And she kind of looks like a toddler, even though she's supposed to be 10. Mm-hmm. And these like trained badass bounty hunters are stumbling. Like, it was so goddamn goofy the way they edited it together.
Yeah, and that's
like
the
I'm
problem.
watching it and I'm like, what is happening right now?
It wasn't even just the fact that the girl's little. Like the way they filmed it and edited it was horrible. There was at one point where one of the enemies, Mini Leia runs under a tree branch, and one of the enemies just goes, ah!
Yeah.
Like, runs their face into the tree, and it was clearly acting, and I just don't know how it made it off that cutting room floor. I don't know how.
Yeah, I really did not. I didn't like that scene.
Fortunately, that's not the only chase scene we get in this series.
No, we get another one. I wasn't a huge fan of a lot of the scenes on Alderaan, but it was cool to kind of get back in, and we got to see Senator Bail Organa.
Yeah.
Which, dude, that man does not age.
He really doesn't.
He looked exactly like he did in the prequels.
Dude,
I was like, holy shit.
And he was Nero in Sons of Anarchy, and he looked the same. And that shit was like 10 years ago, too. He just doesn't age.
Yeah, he was also, I think, season 5 or 6 of Dexter. Mm-hmm. He was one of the killers. And
that's right.
The man does not age. So, and I like him as an actor, too.
Yes.
He's got a lot of charisma. He was actually one of the people when he was on screen, and then when he met with Ben at the end of this episode, like with a lot of the emotion after, and this is ultimately what it leads up to, is he literally pleads with Ben. He's like, we need Obi-Wan Kenobi back.
Obi-Wan Kenobi, we need you.
You're my only hope.
You're my only hope.
Which I've got an issue. That's foreshadowing, too. I've got a fucking issue with that, too.
Right. But
if they're trying to retcon shit.
Yeah. So overall, it was an okay episode. Mini Leia, again, it's love-hate because she's too small to be doing these chase scenes. She doesn't look her age, but at the same time, her wit and her stubbornness really come through as Leia.
Yeah.
So, like, she does a good job with that side of Leia. But unfortunately, she's just too young and too toddlerish to play a 10-year-old.
Yeah. And, again, that's ultimately how it ends. So Kenobi agrees. He goes. He digs out his lightsaber.
Yeah.
Which Anakin's lightsaber, which eventually becomes Luke's lightsaber. He also, it's in the box in the ground. So,
and he straps it to his belt, travels all the streets of the galaxies with it visible while everyone's trying to hunt Jedi.
I was wondering that too. It's like, dude, I know you got the lightsaber and whatever, you're wearing the hood, but come on, man.
It's like, and he kept doing the gunslinger whip every chance he got. I'm like, there's no way nobody would see that shit.
So now we go into episode 2, which, thank God, they got off the desert.
We find land outside the desert. Yeah.
Thank God.
To the planet Daiyu, right?
Yeah, Daiyu.
Yeah.
So they go to the planet Daiyu, and this whole episode is essentially Obi-Wan trying to gather information to figure out where Leia is being kept, ultimately find her. The Inquisitors are now hot on his tail, I should say the Inquisitor, because this whole thing, it turns out it was a setup. Reva actually hired the bounty hunters to take her here because they knew Kenobi couldn't resist and would take the bait.
Yes. I think I'm really got the feel in this episode that she is nothing more than a transition to Vader. Somebody to hold the space of villain until we get to Vader. I can't believe they're going to have her through the entire series with the way she's been, especially in this episode.
They need someone.
I know they need somebody, but ultimately we're leading to Hayden Christensen as Anakin / Vader, and I think this is the vehicle in which they chose to get there.
So to me, one of the bright spots of the episode is one of the ways Obi-Wan gets some info is he hears there's already a Jedi in town.
Yeah.
And he goes and it's somebody playing parlor tricks, guy by the name of Haja Estri, who claims to be a Jedi, but he's not.
Yeah.
Actually played by Kumail Nanjiani,
Mm-hmm.
is hilarious.
Stuber.
Yeah, exactly, Stuber.
It was cool to see somebody. Obviously, people are going to try and pass it off just like, witches and fortune tellers and everything else. There's people going to try and con off being a Jedi.
But he is legit helping people.
Right.
He's just
collecting.
He's making a buck.
I collect credits on the side. Yeah. He likes credits too, but that was definitely a highlight of the episode.
Also, quick little fun fact. Earlier in the episode, Obi-Wan, when he gets there, he gets approached by a somewhat younger girl offering him spice.
Yes.
Which is a drug you can take. And she's like, this one's on the house. They have a couple lines back and forth.
I just saw a movie about a planet with spice.
Dune.
Yeah. I know.
The spice must flow.
The spice must flow.
But fun Phantom fact, that's actually Ewan McGregor's real daughter.
Oh, really?
Yep.
No shit.
Yep. So that's his
I was
real...
wondering why they had such good chemistry. Even that short little scene, I was like, hope they get more interaction. Now it makes sense.
Hey, Dad, you want some drugs?
Yeah, right? And it felt weird, and then it came into play later. He used the spice to flow and escape.
Yeah, the spice flowed.
Yep.
So we get to, the Reva shows up, the rest of the Inquisitors show up. Obi-Wan ends up finding Leia based on that information, ends up breaking her out with the help of the spice.
The spice. And
then, Reva is pissed because, again, the Grand Inquisitor is like, no, I'm going to take the credit. He's like, you're beneath us, you're scum, you're the least of us. And you can see her just fuming, getting pissed off.
And he doesn't care nearly as much about Ben Kenobi as she does. It's her obsession. They just don't give a shit. You need to let go of this obsession.
Yeah, pretty much. This guy doesn't care because he knows that effectively the Jedi are all but extinct.
Right. And obviously Obi-Wan has not been around for a long time, so who cares? But I started getting the feeling of like, you know what? This is kind of the same episode. It's just we missed the introduction to Obi-Wan, but it's just Leia being chased and caught and Obi-Wan Kenobi going after her and helping her. It was the same thing as the first episode, ultimately.
So now ultimately, like you said, you get the chase scene because Leia doesn't trust Ben.
Yes.
Does not believe he's a Jedi.
I would have
so stupid.
I would have force punted her across that planet. Little bitch.
He couldn't have, they were in an alley. He couldn't have floated I don't know, a penny or something.
I'm getting the sense that he hasn't used the Force in a long time, and he couldn't. But then just to push the worst parts of this, they're in the street. She stops. He's right behind her, and she looks, and he goes, "Leia, no!" And then reaches out and misses her, but cannot catch up to her after that.
Yeah, and again, the stubby little legs.
Yeah.
And she's just waddling away. It's like, dude, you could run up and catch her in 3 seconds.
And she's hopping rooftops with these little legs. It looks like a tech deck skater trying to jump rooftops.
It was wicked goofy.
Yeah.
But, and the reason that, they're now running is because they have a bunch of bounty hunters after them, which Reva called it in. And now everybody's after Obi-Wan. He's coming up on all the little dongles. And I'm like, is this John Wick 3?
Yeah, that's true.
This is the exact plot of the beginning of John Wick 3.
Even all the neon and shit in the background. It was all the same. You're right. Yeah.
So So apparently this becomes John Wick 3. They run away. The bounty hunters are after him. Ben tries to fend a bunch of them off. He kills one in the alley. But then when they're on the rooftop, he's trying to blast them left and right. He's missing.
We get Stormtrooper aim. True and through Stormtrooper.
I understand the man hasn't been in combat in probably 10 years, but he was a trained Jedi Knight. Come on, man.
This is my rifle. There are many like it, but this one is mine. You don't forget how to fire your pistol.
And again, throughout this whole episode, he never once draws the lightsaber.
No.
So I'm like, come on, man, whip that shit out and just...
I can't. I stepped on a bee.
Oh, no.
It was just weird. Yeah, it took Leia trying to jump one of these gaps and falling for him to finally reach out and use the Force to stop her.
And he had to use effort. He could not tap into it that easily.
It took a while. like unnaturally long. She definitely would have been bug splatter on the ground. But yeah, he's like, oh, and then finally uses it, and then she's like, you really are a Jedi.
Yeah, no shit.
Really? The robe didn't give me away?
But the other thing like that we didn't talk about was multiple times Ben was calling out to Qui-Gon, saying, Master, where are you? Give me guidance, which seems, again, that kind of goes in line with like his connection to the Force is, I don't want to say completely severed, but
right.
It's not what it was.
No, it wasn't. Like, it's underneath, but it's there.
So I'm curious to see if he redeems himself, if he's going to regain that connection. And will we end up seeing Qui-Gon Jinn as a Force ghost in this?
I saw an article today. I didn't investigate because I didn't want spoilers, but it says it's confirmed that he will return as Qui-Gon, Liam Neeson.
Okay.
But again, that could be a flashback. It could be present day. I didn't want to know, so I didn't look.
Is he going to come back because someone was taken from him?
Or he could be a Force ghost. Who knows? But yeah, in one way or another, apparently he's coming back in this season.
How cool would it be if like there was just a spin-off series of like Obi-Wan, but then like with Force Ghost,
yeah, right,
Qui-Gon.
What is your name?
They're like buddies.
Vader. Well, Vader, let me tell you, I have a special set of skills and a nice lightsaber on my side.
So Reva, she set all this up. She's on a rooftop. She sees all this, like the attacks and the blasts going on.
Yeah, she's Batman.
She starts to pursue them in the most ridiculous parkour scene I have ever seen in anything.
This actually brings me to another complaint I forgot about. Between Obi-Wan and his scenes while combating and her scene of parkour, I'm realizing it's nothing but like showboating completely. Because even Obi-Wan with all the force spins and flips and everything else, it's weird. It comes off really strange.
I mean, Obi-Wan didn't really do many
but like or anything spinning around people and like spinning people around. There was just a lot of spinning. And then her parkour.
Well, Brian, I'll try spinning. That's a good trick.
Yeah.
It all goes back to Anakin.
All goes back to Anakin. Which might be an inside joke. But yeah, when I saw her scene where she's parkouring off all the buildings, I'm like, what in the actual fuck is going on?
So yeah, she ends up killing the Grand Inquisitor at the end of this because he's trying to take credit again. So I actually didn't see that coming. I did not see her killing him that early. But it makes sense that they're following that Sith kind of ideology. I mean, they kill and stab each other in the back all the time.
And she's working directly for Vader, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, like, technically all the Inquisitors are.
Yeah, but it seems like she's got a real message from him, like, get Kenobi.
But the thing that killed me here is, like, how did Obi-Wan not know that Anakin/Vader was still alive?
I have no idea. That's what I was wondering. I'm like, when she says, oh, you didn't know he's still alive, and he's like, and does the flashback scene, I'm like, did he really not know?
Even if he's been on Tatooine like that entire time, even if he's been disconnected from the Force, like there would have been rumblings.
Yeah,
because Vader for 10 years at this point was a fucking monster, like in the galaxy.
And never mind rumblings, like you're trying to tell me Obi-Wan Kenobi didn't check to make sure his Padawan, his best friend, was not fully dead. Like, it just didn't seem realistic to me.
Yeah, so I mean, at this point, I think he's, again, he already knows he failed him, and now he even failed to kill him.
Yes.
And now he's created a monster, and I think he knows that.
Yeah.
So that pretty much ends, the end of this episode. So him and little Leia kind of get away. They're trying now to get off this planet. So we'll have to see what happens with that. But at the very end, we do get the Darth Vader in the back-to-tank scene. Eyes open, you hear the breathing. And again, that's Hayden Christensen in heavy makeup.
Yeah.
When I just want to see Vader at this point.
Yeah,
we need to see Vader
in
I don't
action.
I don't even give a shit. Like him and Kenobi, throughout all of this, they don't even need to meet. They don't even need to interact, but I want to see Vader, like, with his subordinates. I want to see him, like, fucking shit up.
Right.
I'd like to see,
where
like,
he started, you know, like in the early stages of his villain career.
Like, I want to see, like, you know, end of Rogue One Vader.
Yeah.
Like, that was, like,
yes,
just chilling when he came in.
Fucking badass.
We need to see more of that. I think we will.
I don't think they bring.
They wouldn't
Mr.
bring Hayden Christensen in and,
back,
like, not use him more.
No, I don't think so either. Maybe it's a product of them having to completely redo the series. It just felt like a lot of effort was missing in these first 2 episodes. To me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to random review scores and final thoughts. So, a quick couple final thoughts from me. So, I think it was definitely a good call on Disney's part to release 2 episodes at once. I think if they had only released that first episode again with yet in another desert, it would not have differentiated it itself enough from the other series that were out with the, you know, the Mandalorian, the Book of Boba Fett, where everything is very still desert based.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a good call. I think the editing was at times okay, at other times piss poor.
Yeah.
Brian pointed out, like, that chase scene.
Both of them.
And then another thing that, like, I don't know if it pissed you off, but it really, really bugged me. And I actually made, like, a little note as I was watching this because I want to bring it up. So when Obi-Wan, like, reaches down with the Force when Leia falls off the building and he, like, floats her down and saves her.
Talking about when he showed up.
It's
like,
literally 2 seconds later. She's still on the ground just getting up, and he's already around the alleyway saying, "Are you okay?" The dude was like 4 stories up.
Yeah. It didn't piss me off because at this point I've already written off the editing. I'm like, okay, what the fuck?
You've got Reva, the Inquisitor, the third sister, hauling ass coming towards him, doing crazy parkour shit.
I need to see a video of her doing that with the parkour behind it. Steve Carell parkour. But yes, I noticed
you
that.
could edit it, and she never even, like, through all of that, never even catches up to them.
No, and use the Force to float down from the rooftops or something, maybe, and show it, but it made no sense, and I noticed right away. I'm like, okay, that was a 2-second
Well, especially where he's struggling to use the Force. I mean, he's not going to jump down a 4 or 5-story building.
But I noticed right away, yeah.
So, acting-wise, I thought Ewan McGregor, fantastic as always. He did a great job. Everybody else was all right. And again, Leia's actress, anytime you bring in a child actor, and I think they're kind of sticking to a formula now. You know, they've looked at The Mandalorian, what works. You need something you need the cute little sidekick to bring on. And I think
she is. I'll give her that. Yeah.
But I don't know, man. She just kind of comes off as a toddler to me. Not a 10-year-old.
Oh. Don't even tell me she's related to Linda Blair. That would make so much sense. She looks so much like her. Her name is Vivian Lyra Blair. And she was born in 2012. So technically,
she is 10 years old.
10 years old. Wow. Okay. I'll research that and find out because she looks a lot like Linda Blair. But so you can keep going with your points.
Yeah, I only had one more before I get into my review score. So my thing is, and I hope this happens, we have 4 episodes left. I believe there's 6 episodes total in this series. The timeline would match up. Are they going to tie in Cameron Monaghan's Jedi character, Cal Kestis?
I think so.
From Jedi Fallen Order into this show.
I do believe
We've got the sequel, Jedi Survivor. It was just announced. That initial trailer just came out. The game was hugely successful. The timeline matches up perfectly.
Well, the first thing I said to Taylor, I'm like, when they said the third sister, I realized, wait a second, in the game, the second sister is the main villain. There's no way they're not going to bring him in. They have to.
It would be, I mean, Cameron Monaghan is a great actor.
Yeah.
And they could so easily milk that.
And he doesn't have a big project going on right now. So.
No, they could bring him in to literally play Cal Kestis. He looks identical.
Yeah.
I mean, the character is literally mocapped. It is him.
Yeah.
I mean, bring him in. It would be perfect if they could do it the right way and then give him his own spin-off series.
Yes.
I think it would be genius to do that. And then they could tie it into, I mean, because they have to have their pockets in the video game sales as well.
Absolutely.
So I mean, if you're Disney, it makes way too much sense to do this.
I feel like they wouldn't have introduced the third sister and the Inquisitors if they didn't plan on going at least a little down that path. I don't know. I didn't finish the game. I only made it about a quarter of the way through, so I don't know how any of it plays out, to be completely honest.
So good.
I just know the second sister was an amazing villain, and I think she died in the game. I don't know. But bringing her back would have been cool. But yeah, I think you're right. I think they're going to bring him back for Cal Custis.
Do you have any thoughts before we get into review scores?
I did. Hold on, sorry. I got to refresh my memory. Yeah, the acting wise, like you said, I think Ewan McGregor was great. And I think when him and Hayden Christensen are going to be in the same scenes, or at least vibing off each other, it's going to be good. But everyone else just really falls flat, especially the main villain, Moses Ingram. She could be a good actor working with bad writing, but right now I don't see it. I don't see that villain at all turning into anything.
Another quick thing. Do we get Ahsoka Tano in this series?
I think we have to if they're coming out with a standalone. I think at some point, even if it's just something quick, maybe a 10-minute scene in one episode. You know?
I'd love to see it. Her meeting up with like Obi-Wan, like the history they had.
Absolutely.
Throughout the Clone Wars, everything that went into the animated universe would be amazing.
But yeah, no, I mean, overall, you covered a lot of it. I did want to mention the game and tying it into it because I think that's where they're going to be heading, at least partly.
Do. I really hope they do.
Little Leia, hopefully they don't ride that train the whole season. Like him and her and the little team up. I'm sure they will. Hopefully they don't.
So my thing...
How many episodes are there supposed to be?
I think 6, so there's 4 left. The other thing that pissed me off, like you mentioned earlier about, help me, Obi-Wan, you're my only hope. You think if now she's having this interaction with him, this very like, he's saving her life.
Yeah.
And if you go back to episode 4, A New Hope, when she sends the message to Obi-Wan on Tatooine, she says, you were like a supporter of my father during the Clone Wars or whatever.
Yeah.
And like, you think she would be like, hey, remember that time we teamed up?
Yeah.
And like, you saved my life.
You saved my life more than once, Obi-Wan.
So I think like they ran into I don't want to say retconning it, but a little bit like...
little bit of a writing
suspension
wall.
Of disbelief.
And I caught on to that too. And like, I'm a fan of Star Wars, but not a huge fan. And even I caught that, Yeah. It seems like they might run into a couple of those in this season or limited run. But we're already 2 episodes into 6 episodes, and nothing has really happened besides Leia getting kidnapped.
So... let's get into review scores with that being said. So I'm going to give episode 1 and 2 combined, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Okay. I think it's okay.
Yep.
I think it's okay so far. It has potential. It definitely has potential to get a lot better.
Yeah.
They have to tweak things. I understand like you're ramping it up, but they need to, these next 4 episodes, they have to hit the ground running, especially where it's a mini series. And you probably only have Ewan McGregor for this in the potential future. Mm-hmm. You've got Hayden Christensen. You've got lightning in a bottle. Go crazy. Go all out. Make it awesome. But right now, 7 out of 10.
Okay, and that's another thing, right? You have Ewan McGregor coming back, which no one ever thought would happen, right? And Hayden Christensen. You have the perfect ingredients to make something epic, and it felt average, very average. So and also it's worth mentioning I'm really coming off a high of Stranger Things because I'm 4 episodes in and that has done nothing but be the best season of TV I've seen so far. So for a 4th season of a TV show to be that good and then something like this that should be amazing right off the bat, just be okay, I'm going 6 out of 10. I feel like I've given other things 7 out of 10 that is better than what I saw. So a 6 out of 10 feels fair for
That's
this
fair.
show. Yeah.
That's fair. And I think they can improve.
Yes.
They can improve on it.
I think it's possible they will, but these first 2 episodes didn't hit it yet.
All right, randos. Well, thank you for listening to our random review of episodes 1 and 2 of Obi-Wan Kenobi. We'll be back next week. As always, please, if you could, head over to fandom@random.com. Like, listen, follow, subscribe. We super appreciate it. And yeah, that's about it.
Click that bell.
Click that bell. All right, we'll be back. May the Force be with you. Later.